guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're going to be making Halloween tombstones. Well, it's a fun project, and truth be told, it doesn't even involve any wood. But I know. What's it doing on this show, a woodworking show? Well, guys, sometimes you got to branch out and have a little bit of fun. And you know, if Norm did it, you'd love it. Anyway, what we're going to start with here is some 2-inch rigid foam insulation. Well, we've got this 2-inch thick foam insulation, and as you can see here, it's got a bit of a ridge right along this top edge, and that ridge is for making almost like a tongue and groove or an overlapping joint when you install it in walls. But we don't want that for this project. So our first step is going to be to take this over to the table saw and trim off that top lip so that we have a nice flat surface. Now, I have a saw stop, so I'm not 100% sure if the styrofoam will cause static electricity. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut off the safety feature of that saw to cut off this lip right here. Well, we have that uneven edge cut away now, and what we were left with was a piece of styrofoam that is 23 inches wide. So at this point, I'm going to go back over to the table saw and cut them all to their length. And for my purpose, I think that 36 inches will make them look proportionate. And there we have our pieces cut to length. And if I had lungs, I sure wouldn't want this dust in my lungs. So guys, treat this as if you were cutting wood. Make sure you have your proper PPE and your dust collection going. At this point now, it's time to mark out the profiles of our tombstones. So let's get right to it. You can make the tombstones any shape you'd like. And all I did was go online and Google some images of tombstone profiles for Halloween, and there are a cajillion of these things out there. So you're not limited to anything other than your imagination. And as you can see up here, I mean, my skeletal challenged friend is drawing these out, and after they're all drawn out with a Sharpie marker, we're going to head over to the scroll saw and cut these profiles out.
Using a number 7 reverse tooth blade, it does a really quick job of cutting these, and there's other methods you could use. You could use a jigsaw, you could use a band saw, you don't have to use a scroll saw. You can cut them with a coping saw, whatever you like. But you can go ahead with your scroll saw if you have it and cut out all of your profiles.
And there they are, cut out. The scroll saw makes short work of it, and you can see here that there's quite a variety of designs. Mix it up, guys. Don't just stick to a traditional pattern. Use your imagination and go wild with it. So now that we've got the general shape cut, you want to take some sandpaper and clean up any of the outer edges. And then from there, we're going to start with the lettering. So what we've done here is I've gone onto my computer and chosen some appropriate fonts for the lettering on the tombstones. And I just printed them out. And as you can see here, Mr. Fancy Pants has a projector. So he's just projecting them onto the tombstones and then tracing them with a Sharpie. However, you may not be as lucky as Mr. Fancy Pants. So there are other ways that you could transfer the letters. You could use carbon paper. You could just trace over them with a ballpoint pen, and the indentations will end up on the tombstone, and from there you can trace them out with a Sharpie. Either way, use your imagination. You can just draw them freehand. You don't have to have special fonts. Remember, this is a decoration that will be seen from a distance, and it's not necessary to have great, huge amounts of detail. So go ahead, transfer all your letters onto the tombstone, and we will start cutting them out.
So the way we're going to cut these out is by using a Dremel with kind of a router attachment here. And we set it for a depth of just a little over 1/8 of an inch. And it's as simple as tracing your lines with the Dremel to cut out your letters. And just to give you an idea there of how it cuts it out, it does quite a clean job. So I'm going to carry on and cut out this entire tombstone, and when I get the letters cut out, I'll come back and see you.
The letters are routed out and they're looking great. So now you want to take a heat gun, and on a low setting, be very careful and just run the gun all over your lettered area. And what that will do is clean up any burrs, and it will make it so that it kind of shrinks up and hardens the edges of your letters. Don't go too crazy with it, as you can damage your tombstone, but if you do, don't worry, it's a weathered look, so no biggie. Once that step is done, now it's time to move on to shaping and aging the tombstone. Well, our next step is to, like I said, distress them. You can see that we've got all the lettering done and routed out, and it looks just fantastic. So now the hard part, breaking your stuff. And you've spent so much time working on it that you may not want to bust it up now, but I'm going to turn it over to the mortal guy and let him show you how to distress and age these tombstones. So take it away, mortal guy.
Well, like Norman said, yes, his name is Norman. No, I did not name him. This is the hardest part because you've worked so hard to get this lettering the way that you like it, and now it's time to make it look old and damaged and decrepit, kind of like what it would in an old haunted cemetery. And we've got a couple of old rasps here, and we've got some wood files. I've got a screwdriver, a Dremel tool, and I'm going to be using knives, scissors, whatever I can do to damage this thing. And we're going to start off with taking off some of these edges around the outside. And it's just like tear it up. You know, we're not trying to be pretty about this. You just want to kind of tear it up and make it look like it's older. And eventually, I mean, once we finish tearing it up and sanding it, I mean, this is going to be looking like it's hundreds of years old. The rasp will take it off fairly quickly, but then you want to come through with the file to finish it off and just take away the teeth marks of the rasp. So start off with that, taking away all of these rough edges around your project. Well, we've sort of got them roughed up, and it's really not as rough as what I would like it, but I'm only showing you the steps. So the next thing that we're going to want to do here is start breaking away pieces and making this thing look like it's really aged and really damaged. So I'm going to get a flush cut saw and then come back and show you what to do with that. So if this headstone were to be damaged in the cemetery, I would think that maybe it would probably lose a corner, you know? That corner would be damaged out of there. We'll just pop that right out. Just like that. And I mean, those lines would probably carry on down through, you know, because it's damaged, right? So you just want to cut away some pieces, make it look damaged, and carry it on through, and this is the hard part, carry it on down through your lettering, because these are cracks now in the tombstone, right? So carry it on down through, and just see how you make out with it. So, cut a little more out of there, and you can be as bold or as light as you like. And as I said, it's a little difficult because it took you so long to do this, but that's okay. I mean, this is all part of the fun. So just use this saw or a knife or whatever you have, and you want to cut some pieces away here. Make it cracked, you know? And make it so that it looks old, looks broken, looks decrepit. Just like that. So I'll just dump the stuff off there, and you can see where it's getting cracked and worn and damaged, and that's what we want. So as I carry on here, I'm going to cause some more damage to this and see if we can't get this to look like it's really seen better days. Just like that. And we're going to break it up with this rasp a bit. We don't want it to be too perfect as far as the cut lines, so you just want to get in there and break away some of these pieces so that it looks like broken stone. Don't be shy, get in there, break it up, just like that. And the more you break it up, I mean, the more like stone it looks. So I'm going to carry on here with this, and when I get back, you're going to see hopefully a drastic difference in this project. Now in this area here where you cut it away, it's a little too clean. It looks cut, and what we want it to look like is decay. So I'm just going to take this pair of scissors, and all through here I'm just going to hook it in and break out chunks of this styrofoam. Now there's no rhyme or reason to it. You just want to do it until it no longer looks like you cut it with a saw. And at some point in time, I mean, you're going to look at it and say either, wow, that looks great, or what have I done? In which case, you know, you can always fix it up somehow. But you want to get in there and pull that apart and make it look like it's a broken piece of concrete. I don't know if you can see that, but make it look like busted up concrete. Don't make it look like cut styrofoam. And then we've got this side here done as well, which is looking better and better. And like I said, you're starting to see a drastic difference in this particular tombstone. So I'm going to carry on doing the same methods here, cutting it with the saw, gouging it with a pair of scissors, using a rasp, breaking pieces off, cutting it apart until I get the effect that I want. And you can be as bold, as I've said, or as gentle as you like. But don't be afraid of wrecking it, because it's an old tombstone. It's supposed to look decrepit. This is not a fine woodworking project. Remember, there's no wood involved at all. So let's keep gouging this out and keep working on this headstone. Well, here we have a busted up and very distressed tombstone. And something else I've done here is I've cut this bottom here askew. Doesn't matter the angle, it doesn't matter if it's perfect. The whole point of it is, if this is an old decrepit tombstone, it may not be perfectly level. So getting it a little off kilter just adds to the effect. And so we've got the distressing done as much as what we want to at this point. I think it looks fantastic. Now we need to make some mounting holes in this thing.
Well, as Ken said, now we're going to be putting in something to mount these with. And what we're going to do is use a 7/8 of an inch spade bit and drill a hole about 6.5 inches deep up through the bottom of each tombstone. There will actually be 2 of these, and don't just throw them in all willy-nilly. Pick a measurement. So I'm going to place mine 12 inches apart, and each tombstone will have one of these, or sorry, 2 of these 6-inch long by 7/8 holes drilled in the bottom. And we're going to use some styrofoam glue and glue in some sleeves or scrap pieces of 3/4 inch PVC conduit. These are going to act as sleeves to protect our tombstones when they're installed. If you put all of the holes at the same dimension apart, you're not limited by where your tombstones can be mounted, so you can shift them around and etc., etc. So 7/8 in diameter, 6.5 inches deep, 12 inches apart. Then we're going to glue in some pieces of 3/4 inch conduit, and we'll move on from there. And there you have it. Tombstones for Halloween. No wood, but you know what? They look great. Just check these out. Check that out. Awesome. Guys, you gotta give this a try. I mean, it's unreal. They come out fantastic, and we haven't even painted them yet. And, I guess that will be next week's show. So, although no woodworking involved again next week, there will be the second part here, or maybe a show on its own as to how to decorate these tombstones. The results are great, guys. Your family will love them. Your neighborhood will love them. They are just fantastic. So, either way, thanks for watching, and we're going to see you again next week with another woodworking video. No bones about it. Little skeleton humor. See ya. You know, they think that you're controlling me.
Yeah, I know.